Nigerian fintech is accelerating at a rapid pace. Onboarding is seamless, transactions are immediate, and the user experience is designed for speed. But beneath the surface, a critical issue is emerging. Olawale Oladoja, a fintech security expert, points out that many platforms are not building the right kind of security. Instead of focusing on foundational trust architecture, they are prioritizing regulatory compliance and basic checks like OTP verification. The difference is subtle but significant. Compliance is a checkbox. Trust architecture is a system, and the gap is already showing in how platforms respond to real threats. Olawale explains that while many fintech teams are checking the right boxes for regulators, they're missing the proactive layers needed to detect and prevent fraud. This is especially relevant as the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, moves closer to implementing a device binding mandate in July. The rule requires that all digital financial services verify the device being used for transactions. For mature platforms, this is a manageable transition. They already have device intelligence systems, fraud monitoring workflows, and adaptive authentication in place. But for many fast-scaling fintechs, this is a significant challenge. Olawale highlights that these platforms often lack strong device fingerprinting infrastructure, fragmented authentication systems, and limited behavioral security controls. As a result, they're carrying what he calls security debt, a backlog of vulnerabilities that could be exploited. The mandate. Most people arrive after the move is obvious and the easy upside is gone. We focus on serious crypto education and high-quality signals before the crowd rushes in, so you can understand the setup earlier and move sooner. If you want that edge, visit the link below now. Is forcing the industry to confront this debt. But the question remains, are they ready? Olawale says the larger institutions have already invested in the infrastructure needed to meet these kinds of requirements. They've built systems that can adapt to new rules without breaking existing workflows, but for smaller or newer platforms, the mandate could expose weaknesses. The CBN's device binding rule is not just a compliance requirement. It's a signal of a broader shift in how fintech security is being evaluated. It's pushing companies to think beyond the basic layers of security and invest in systems that can detect fraud in real time. That includes things like behavioral analysis, device intelligence, and adaptive authentication. These are not just technical upgrades, they're shifts in mindset. Instead of building security as a compliance checkbox, companies need to build it as a foundational layer of trust. The stakes are clear. If fintech platforms fail to adapt, they risk not only regulatory penalties but also real-world fraud attacks. Olawale warns that attackers are not targeting code, they're targeting trust. And if a platform's trust architecture is weak, fraudsters will find a way in. The next signal to watch is how fintechs respond to the device binding mandate. Will they treat it as a compliance hurdle, or will they use it as a catalyst to build stronger, more resilient security systems? The answer could determine not just regulatory compliance, but the long-term viability of these platforms. The mechanisms at play are critical. Device fingerprinting, for example, involves capturing unique characteristics of a device, like hardware identifiers, software configurations, and user behavior patterns, to verify authenticity. When this is done effectively, it creates a robust layer of defense against fraudulent activity. But if a platform lacks mature device fingerprinting infrastructure, it becomes easier for attackers to spoof devices or mimic legitimate users. Similarly, fragmented authentication systems, where different parts of a platform use separate or inconsistent verification methods, can create gaps in security that fraudsters exploit. Without a unified approach, attackers can bypass one layer of authentication and gain access to sensitive functions. Behavioral. Most people arrive after the move is obvious and the easy upside is gone. We focus on serious crypto education and high-quality signals before the crowd rushes in, so you can understand the setup earlier and move sooner. If you want that edge, visit the link below now. Security controls, on the other hand, rely on analyzing user behavior in real time. This includes monitoring transaction patterns, login times, and device usage to detect anomalies that might indicate fraud. These systems are proactive, constantly learning and adapting to new threats. But if a fintech hasn't invested in these capabilities, it's essentially flying blind when it comes to detecting sophisticated fraud. The next signal to watch is how fintechs respond to the device binding mandate. Will they treat it as a compliance hurdle, or will they use it as a catalyst to build stronger, more resilient security systems? The answer could determine not just regulatory compliance, but the long-term viability of these platforms.